If you're using our own starter that you have purchased off our website, 95% of your problems, if you're having problems, is going to be because of temperature. So remember when we learned about the most important things for our starter, keeping it healthy and understanding it, the two most important things are keeping the ratios the same and the temperature. So this one here was activated 48 hours ago. I want you to have a good look at it. It's active. You can see the top is maybe a little bit of a different color. There's a hard piece on the top, okay? And that is totally normal, that's okay. It might look different. Some people might not even really get that. If it looks gray, so if you're having issues with the grayness, it's probably because it's too cold. So let's talk about temperature. The ideal fermentation temperature for your starter is going to be 75 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That in Celsius is around 24, I forget the number. How do you know what temperature your starter is fermenting at? You can actually take a thermometer, stick it right into your starter. So this one's fermenting at 75 right now, and I have had to bundle this up because it's too cold. If your starter's too cold, there's a few things you can do. This is a glass jar. It's gonna stay a little bit cooler than a plastic container. So just make sure what it's sitting on top of is warm. Some people, as far as you could just wrap it in a towel and stick it on top of your fridge, and that's fine, and it ferments and it's good. Others who have a cooler home, you can just bundle it up. So this is an Instant Pot. It stays warm. And what I do is I just make a little bed in my Instant Pot for it. So I just put the rack in the bottom. I don't have the container in there. I just stick the rack in there. I make a little bed for my starter and then make sure it's covered. And what I actually will do is I will turn this on just to keep warm, or the yogurt setting, which is a lot lower of a temperature, and I'll leave it on for 5 minutes. Please don't burn anything, okay? Make sure you set a timer. Just turn it on for 5 minutes just to warm up, and then I just cover it up and I just let it sit. And this will keep it up to temperature. It always works for me. If you have a fireplace going or a heater nearby, you can just stick it by the heater and just check it and make sure, and you'll be able to see if it's working, because your starter will start to ferment and it'll be happier and it'll grow. If it's too cold, it's not gonna grow. Having said that, what we do is once your starter is very active, you can actually keep it in the fridge if you're not using it very much. But because this is a brand new starter, we're reactivating it. We might have to give it a couple more feedings just to keep it happy. So what you're gonna do is just keep an eye on it. So this is sat for 48 hours. It doubled. It didn't quite triple in size, but it's okay. It doubled at least. It was cold, it's all right. And what we're gonna do now is move on to our maintenance feedings. I talk about that in a different video, so check that out. Another way you could try and keep your starter warm is you could put it in, make sure if it's in glass, make sure it's wrapped. You could stick it in the oven with the light on. Sometimes the light just keeps it warm. Just put a note on the outside of the oven not to turn the oven on, because you would cook your starter if somebody started it in there. You could stick it in the microwave and see if that keeps it out of the draft. If you have a yogurt fermenter, if you have something that you make yogurt in, you can buy things to keep your yogurt starter and fermentation warm. You can stick it inside of there too. What I want to talk about now is if it's too hot. Honestly, in the summer, you'll be able to tell it ferments a lot faster if it's too hot. If it's way too hot, like over 95 degrees, then it could kill your starter. So you don't want to cook it, okay? So be mindful of that. But in the summertime, even with the air conditioning on, it just ferments faster. There's more humidity in the air, and that all plays a part in your starter. So if it's too hot, what you can do is just find somewhere cool. Just check to make sure it's fermenting properly. If you're not using your starter, you can stick it in the fridge. It will ferment very, very slow. You can actually do that if you go away and things like that too, but we talk about that in another video. So if your starter is too hot, the basic thing you're gonna do is just find a spot to keep it as cool as you can. If you're not using it, stick it in the fridge, and just check it. If it's rising and falling in the summer and it's fermenting faster, all you're gonna do is give it more feedings. So you might have to feed it twice a day, and basically that's the takeaway, is the temperature controls the fermentation. So when you're activating a dehydrated starter, you want it to be nice and warm. You want it to be well stirred, and let it sit in a nice warm place and just let it do its thing. And basically the temperature it's fermenting at is going to determine how fast it's going to peak, okay? And that's the biggest thing you need to learn, because once you learn that, it's going to help you with learning all about your doughs and the fermentation process. So the warmer, the faster it ferments. The colder, just think of being really cold and you don't really want to move when you're cold. So the colder it is, it's not going to rise. If it goes gray on the top and it's not rising, it's probably too cold or it wasn't stirred well enough. So one other thing, if after 24 hours, if you have not seen your starter rise, like if it's only risen a little bit, what you can do after 24 hours is give it another good stir and make sure it's fermenting between 75 and 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Other than that, if you have any other questions or any other comments, any issues or concerns, please comment below. We want to address them. Yeah, if you have any other ideas for requests for videos, let us know, and like and subscribe.